Good evening, friends. My name is Autumn Ni Dubhgaill in the Irish, Doyle in English, and I've been invited here to talk to you about my work. So I do a lot of strange things with rocks and stones and bones and various things I can pick up and get my claws on. I've been working a lot in the past several years, mostly in these larger conceptual installations using natural materials that I tend to harvest and find throughout our forested woodlands around here, usually traipsing through swamps and marshes to gather cars full of reeds. And for a time I was pinning reeds together with hawthorn thorns to make the Reed Oyam series, which will be showing up eventually. That series would take small writings that I would make. I would transliterate them into Irish, and then from the Irish into the Oyam, which is an ancient Druidic alphabet from the Emerald Isle. And this is one of them. This is Reed Oyam number 1, and you can see all of the reeds pinned together and forming these hash marks that make up the language of Oyam. And each one of these is a certain letter, but it's also a sound, and it's also a magical property or symbol. And there's a whole bunch of them. I think I made 4 or 5 by now, and some of them have traveled to other parts of at least the state or New England. It's hard to convince people to let me hang these things in certain places. They're usually outside, and natural environments are the best for them. I've been invited recently in these past years to exhibit more in these outdoor sculptural shows. So apparently I'm a sculptress now too. I don't know when that happened, but it seems to be true. The Reed Oyam series also became, I started to move away from just the Oyam and into more things with reeds. I started to tie the reeds together a little bit better with string and twine. Usually you can buy a whole spool of twine, and it lasts for a long time. You just sit there with a knife and carve it all down and tie them together, because the thorns, while an amazing joiner, they don't grow back as fast on the trees as you would hope. So I tried a different method so I wouldn't always be out harvesting thorns in the mountains somewhere. This is when Reed Oyam number 3 went to a show in Provincetown, Massachusetts. The forest is completely different from where I usually exhibit. But it's amazing how the work can still show through. And I usually like these to be sort of a way into seeing in the past something new and different, and ancient at the same time, and awakening the ancient past in all of us. This is some of the departures from the Reed Oyam series into, this is called Ever the Forest Dreams. And I started using a lot more dreamcatcher type weaving, as well as different and strange shapes. Like this whole piece is made of a spiral of large reed squares. This was exhibited in Vermont and North Bennington last year, and I believe it's still there because it was bigger than my car, and I couldn't carry it too well. And traffic didn't like being behind me when I had that thing tied to my roof. This is a piece called River of Driftwood that I made several years ago in Williamstown, Massachusetts. I gathered for days driftwood. It was after our little hurricane there. I don't remember the name of it, but there was driftwood all over the river. So I spent a couple days gathering trees and wood and things to construct a river, which I did here also, though this time I wanted a river of fire. I had been invited to a show in Northampton at the library about rivers and the river and how it affects our lives, and I really wanted to try it with a new and exciting way of shifting elements and using something that you wouldn't usually think for a river. And even with all these sculptural things, I still keep to a lot of my portraiture and a lot of my photography. I don't do it as much as I used to because I'm carving little things and tying bones together and such. But I've always had a good time taking pictures, especially pictures of myself, because it's harder to get people to run up the side of a mountain in the middle of a snowstorm to wear a wedding dress and not complain about being cold. It was cold, but You know, that time of day when it just gets blue outside, right before, like right after the sun sets. That was perfect. And the self-portrait of Shiva dancing, something I had always wanted to do, and I was able to procure some mannequin arms and do a lot of I like to do a lot of these things without digital means. I shoot film all the time and tie animal skins to myself in the woods and things like that. But to me, it's important that these effects and things can be realized through staging and through acting and through performing all these different parts instead of just relying on a computer to do it for you. And smaller series using bones and stones and rivers and driftwood and things, like the fetish series I started with these small objects that would be kind of hold and house a spirit to some ancient people that can breathe and tell its own story when you look at just feathers and skulls and dangling feet and things like that. The fetish series is still growing. I have a lot of bones to work with and a lot of feathers, and I'm always finding more. Just like the Three Jaws Ascending is one of my favorite pieces with driftwood and cow bones, cow jaws, things like that. It's a lot of fun. I dig it. And I think that might be the end of my slideshow. It's very short, sweet. I hope you dug it, and thanks for listening.
Thank you so